Today I thought we're talking about progress. How can we get a felt sense of progress? How do you know that you made progress? How do you measure it? Do you have a system in place for that? I'm going to share it with you mine too, just after. But first, I think we need to also check in with ourselves. What are you actually working on? Are you intentional about that? Do you have set goals? You may have heard me talk before that I have like a monthly theme or a goal. Sometimes the themes are a little bit bigger and there's like tiny little goals with it. Or are you working on lots of different things? Are you doing all those free webinars and you are doing the group DBT sessions there and you're reading books and YouTube videos? You're kind of a bit more scattered. I was that too, by the way. And when we're doing a lot of different things at once, it feels scattered. And it's really hard to get a felt sense of progress when we're doing that. That's why I kind of shifted a little bit and I focused just on one thing for a month. But maybe you're just bumbling from one day to the next and not really too sure what to work on. It's just all overwhelming. There's so much happening and you can't pick the thing. I was there too, by the way. So I've done it all. I think it's just part of our healing journey to kind of figure out the right thing for ourselves. Okay, because initially I just had like weekly goals and that didn't feel like the right thing for me. It wasn't long enough to make progress. Besides, it took me about a week to get into it and to remember that this is what I'm working on. So for me, working on something for a month worked really well. It doesn't mean that by the end of the month that I'm perfect or I'm a master or I'm successfully completed something like this. It's not, I'm working towards that goal, whether this is patience, healthy boundaries, practices to help me manage my anxiety, those kind of goals. There's not really that I reach that, but I focus on this, I get better at that skill, and I put things in place so I can have a felt sense of progress, because that can give us some motivation and enthusiasm then to keep going. So that's why it's so important. So what I did is I had some daily check-ins for that. Okay. Is that something that you do? Do you spend some time at the end of the day to reflect on how the day went? And if you do, what do you think about? Be honest here. Are you going and ruminating about those conversations that went really pear-shaped, or someone that really irritated you, or maybe you're worrying about something in the future? Always that stress being a student, whether that assignment is going to be good enough, whether I'm going to have enough time to study for that exam, or financial pressure. If you don't know how you're going to pay those bills that are coming in that week, that's kind of more thinking ahead. But when we're thinking about either something in the past or in the future, it creates suffering or pain and worry, and it doesn't feel good, because they're all kind of negative things that we're thinking of, and that's our default. Okay, our brain automatically will go there. It's a kind of protective mechanism in a way. But so we want to get it back and focusing on, hey, what was it actually that went okay today? So it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be the best, what went okay today. So we want to focus on that. And we talk a lot about that in the Thrive at Root community, actually, because so often, not only do we not acknowledge that we done something okay, we actually minimize it or dismiss it completely. Okay, and we just move on to the next thing. So we often catch ourselves out, because when we're doing it ourselves, we might not even notice it, but you might hear it if you're part of groups as well. If you're part of the Thrive at Root community, then you know, but perhaps you're part of different groups, or perhaps you have a friend, or you heard a friend dismiss their own kind of achievements. We can hear it in other people and we can point it out for them. So sometimes groups can really help with that, to notice this, oh no, hey, actually you did good. Let's just pause here for a few seconds and celebrate that. And I always say we also want to celebrate the fact that you tried. So when you tried something and it went all pear-shaped, like it really didn't turn out the way you wanted, and we have a tendency then to actually just beat up on ourselves and see ourselves as a failure. Well, I did. Let me know in the comments if that's you too. But we're so critical on ourselves, and we miss that actually making that step, trying something new, that's a step outside of our comfort zone, and we need to celebrate that step, because that helps us then to get enthusiasm, get some energy, some motivation to try some other things again, and or look into how can we do it slightly different so it works. So that is really key. So if you have someone there in your life that can do that and help you point that out and celebrate that, each other most likely, because most people have a tendency to dismiss their achievements for some reason. So anyway, if that, let me know how you going with that. How do you manage to even just a pause? I say it doesn't have to be huge, but even just a 3-second pause to allow that to sink in. Hey, I did that, I tried it, and let that feel good there. But back to the daily check. That's what I was going to talk about. I nearly went off track there. But how I check in at the end of the day is, I used to have, I made that myself like a spreadsheet. I fitted on the whole week on that, and it had the morning habits in there as well. But in the evening, I had a section where I've written down the 3 things that went okay, the 3 things that I'm grateful for or I appreciate. So I had this sheet that I filled in every evening, and it really helped me because there was the prompts there, so I knew this is what I want to focus on. So I did that for years. And some people that like sheets, I have a couple of my one-on-one private clients, they actually have a specific journal next to their bed where they only write in the things that went okay, what they're grateful for or appreciative of. So that can be very powerful too, to have a specific notebook or journal just for that. Yeah. But these days, you can be very creative with that. By the way, you can try out different things. So these days, I don't actually write it down at all anymore. It's when I go to bed, when my head hits the pillow, the lights are off, this is when I just focus on things that went okay and on the things that I'm grateful for. And my mind will keep wandering off the things that are worried about the future or that things that didn't go so well, because remember, this is automatic. Our brain does that. That's the default. So it actually takes a little bit more energy and conscious awareness to catch ourselves. Oh, I'm back there, and gently bring yourself back to focus on the things that you're grateful for or that went okay in the day. And the reason I really focused so heavily on that, and that was one of my biggest habits, is because I wasn't sleeping at all, or very, very poorly for most of my life, and I had lots of nightmares and night terrors and things like that. And I was reading that when you're falling asleep on thoughts of gratitude and appreciation, you're more likely to have good dreams. It's like, I was desperate for a good night's sleep, and it's like, and it has shifted over time. These days it's extremely rare that I have a nightmare. And if I have a nightmare, they're nothing like the ones that I used to have, where I wake up frozen, not being able to move, not knowing where I am and things like that. I don't have that anymore. So, but even those things get better. Okay, there was other habits and things that I put in place as well for sleeping. But that is really important for us to have a process in place at the end of the day to check in. How did we go? And measure that, so we can have a felt sense of progress, and that is where the energy comes from. Then that we can keep trying the next day, and you're waking up, it's like, hey, I did okay today, and you have a different kind of enthusiasm for the day, or a different kind of attitude to the day, because you're starting to think, oh, I actually can get things done, and they can be simple goals. I often say to people that having the goal to have a glass of water first thing you get up, it doesn't sound like much, but people dismiss the ripple-on effect this has, because having a glass of water in the morning helps me stay more hydrated. And I used to get very tired, lethargic, a bit foggy-minded in the afternoon from all the studying, and I couldn't concentrate so well. And most of the time it was because I was so dehydrated. And then by the late afternoon I would start having a headache. So I really needed to get into that habit, and it's just, that glass of water, it like I said, it has a ripple on effect. But once you get into the habit, it's also then reaffirms back to you, hey, actually, I have been doing that. Every morning I've had that glass of water. I am a person who gets things done. I can stick to the goals that I set for myself. So it's very key that you pick things for yourself that are not gigantic, that they're simple enough for you to get done, that they feel achievable. We want to set ourselves up for success. Okay, key, say it again. You want to set yourself up for success. It's so important to rewire our brain there. Okay, that's it for today, and I'm curious to hear about how you measure that, how you get that felt sense of progress for yourself, because I'm always curious how you're going about all that too. And as always, looking forward to hearing from you. Oh, and sending you lots and lots of love and rainbows to brighten up the tough times just a little. See you guys, bye.